Well, they asked, are we ready? And we said no, so I guess it's time to go live. Hi, everybody. We're here on Facebook Live, as Kevin likes to say, or actually YouTube, if you've tuned into the right place, to talk about our new issue, March 2024, also known as issue 294. And you may recognize our intriguing cyclone that's on the front. And John's going to talk about that in a little bit here, but just like the way they put the eggs at the back of the store, so you have to go buy everything first. We're going to talk about all the other stuff first, so you'll have to wait around a little bit for the cyclone. Hour, 2 hours maybe, I don't know. Maybe not, 10 minutes. So
it's snowing.
Yeah. It's snowing, oh, see, yes, and welcome to the Great White North. We are inside where we're not getting snowed on. Maybe we'll do one of these outdoors, but not till May. So, thanks for tuning in. In the 294 issue, we had a lot of tool content and a couple of things. One is our annual Innovation Awards. We'll talk a little about that. But the other is we did a test of cordless drills. Everybody loves cordless drills, of course, and we've done them before, but the thing that we looked at this time was 12-volt drills. They used to be, everything was a 12-volt drill years ago, since I'm old. But now 18 and 20 and even larger formats have taken over. So we wondered, does a 12-volt drill still have a place in the shop? And what we came up with was yes. We did, a dozen of them? And one of the things that we found, one of the big differences, I pulled the Makita because I have the 18-volt Makita at home. And the weight difference is substantial. My 18-volt weighs like 40% more than this 12-volt. So the weight advantage is nice, but what we found for stuff around the shop, you're really not giving up a lot of power. They drove all kinds of screws. Vince, who's going to come talk in a little bit here, he and I drove. We started off thinking, oh, we'll test this by driving 3-inch screws. And once Vince got to, 150 screws with a drill, he was like, yeah, we should switch to lag screws. So we switched to 1/4-inch lag screws. If you're not trying to drive big bolts, we found that the 12 volts will do everything. Drill holes, drive screws, all the stuff you want to do in the shop. A couple of interesting things that we did learn. The DeWalt was our winner in the test. And we really also liked the Milwaukee. And we like the Makita too. One of the big differences, and if you look at some of the test results, you'll see that the Makita actually drilled more 3/4-inch holes than the DeWalt did. But the difference is a lot of cordless tools these days have overload protection. So if the battery starts to get hot, it'll actually shut the tool down and it won't run again until the tool cools off. Most of the time you're never gonna run into that, but we were slamming holes into things and driving lag screws as fast as we could. And what we found was that a couple of the drills that were extremely powerful and would drive a lot of lag screws would kick into that overload protection. So you'd drive maybe 30 screws and then it would go into overload protection. There'd still be battery charge. You'd have to wait 5 minutes or so, and then you could drive another dozen screws, then you'd wait a few minutes, then you could drive another 15, 18 screws. Whereas with the DeWalt, it just kept powering through. It never went into overload protection. So,
but these are big screws too, right?
Yeah, these were 1/4-inch, 1/4 by 3-inch lag screws.
And no pilot holes?
No pilot holes. We were just pounding them into 4x4s.
Let me see that winner there.
The winner?
Yeah, how big of a, so is this 3/8?
These are all 3/8 or 1/2-inch chuck. Most of them are 3/8, some of them are half. We also found an interesting thing that we were really surprised by. The lowest priced drills in the test, the Skills, did a really nice job. And so, a few things that we learned, I know that John works with the lights out in the shop a lot. So if you're drilling in the dark, the light that's on the front of them, it does make a big difference. If the light's down here shining up, you get a lot less shadow. If the light's right here, you tend to get more shadow around where you're working. There's a pretty good picture of it in the issue. But, probably you don't work with the lights out a lot, but when you're inside of a cabinet or something like that, it can make a big difference. So it wouldn't be my deciding factor in a drill, but it surprised us in some of them where we really liked the drill, but it was like, it's a lot of shadow.
So that, can I see that?
You want to see that one too?
Metal chuck on that.
Metal chuck.
Okay, so that one looks a little longer.
here
Is there anything do you worry about, a lot of these guys are worried about trying to make this as short as possible?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Is there anything
definitely a
there?
difference, and that was, we talked about that. That makes a difference. I mean, you can see there's a substantial difference in where you can fit that drill in, and from a height standpoint, there's some difference. Most of the time, not going to be a factor, but yeah, if you want to stay compact, you certainly can.
Don't lose sleep at night.
Don't lose sleep. And are they dramatically smaller lengthwise than the 18 and 20? They're really not these days, but overall size, they're quite a bit smaller.
And I see big 4-amp battery
you
on
get a
that.
4-amp battery, 2-amp hour battery, so I'm sure that, that one will fit in your bag
That's
too.
real nice, too.
It'll probably
Now,
fit in your
did
bag, too.
that have a charger?
Yes, it did have a charger.
Okay.
One thing interesting on the skill charger, by the way, it has this little, with lithium-ion batteries, it used to be in the old NiCad days, and you'll see a difference in lithium-ion power, but mostly they work and then they don't. And so you're out of power. And on the skills, they have this little jump start. So you can push this button and it'll take it to 25% in 5 minutes. It's a pretty cool feature.
So you charge that instead of just buying a new battery?
We don't all work for magazines.
Okay,
we don't get everything sent to us.
That's going to come. Well, this was great, Dave.
Here, you better fit that
No,
one.
I don't want that.
All right,
that is
well,
overload.
I have blattered quite long enough. So let's turn it over to John for a minute and talk about some projects.
All right, thank you, new Kevin. Our biggest new improved Kevin. Our biggest project was a liquor cabinet, and of course I didn't keep it to that page. We did not bring that thing down here because it is so big.
It's not that it was full, because we've emptied it at least twice.
At least twice.
So,
but that was kind of the that was kind of the big boy. So this is the piece that is missing. Really cool piece, but again,
it is a really cool piece.
I've moved it 3 times, and that's enough. So
and actually one thing that we didn't talk about directly, but we talked about after the fact. If you don't need a liquor cabinet, the base for the liquor cabinet makes a really nice table just on its own, and it's kind of separated out in the plan so that you can do one then the other.
This in front of me is a nice little piece. I'm amazed no one has snagged it for their own cubicle yet. It's a little laptop riser, so you can put a monitor up here. If this is large enough, you can slide a laptop in. Has drawers.
Keyboard can slide underneath.
I bet they're wondering at home how I'm doing that.
That's magic.
It's magic.
Yes, Yuri, go
But
Yuri.
yeah, it's just a nice little piece. So if no one wants it, I'm going to snag it for my office. Might turn on my computer someday. We have a coat tree or a hall tree, and the fun thing about this piece, it's all wooden joints. So you don't have to buy any hardware for it. You don't have to go looking for hooks. But it is a lot of mortise and tenon work. The base, I don't know if you call them corbels or what gussets it's mortise and tenon into the post, and it's mortise and tenon into the foot. So we have a neat little technique on making those mortises a little bit longer so you can slide it in and down and lock everything together. So really the only kind of headache on that particular piece is getting that foot completely together. It's a little bit of a clamp farm. But again, we didn't want to mess with sourcing hooks, so we did the wooden through hooks. So it's a through mortise held with a pin. Just a nice piece. You can, if you have wood, you can make it.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
And then
want to talk technique?
I do want to talk technique
talk
because
technique.
it's a project within a technique. So we're bringing in Vince.
On in, Vince. Just come right around the front.
And I'll get out of your way.
Yeah, we'll get out of Vince's way. This is a really cool technique that Vince took everybody through.
Yeah, this is a great technique for scrap wood. It's a scrap wood project, really. We called it a continuous grain box or a 4-corner match box.
You can set it down here, and Lucas can probably get in nice and tight. See all the. You can talk, and I'll play Vanna here.
So the idea is that you have grain running continuously around the box, so all 4 the grain matches in all 4 corners. And the way you do it is take a single blank of wood and resaw it right down the center, and then open it up so it's book matched. And then you have to carefully number the sides of the box. But what you're doing basically is creating 2 mirror image halves of a box and join those together. So it's basically just being real careful with your layout, labeling everything, and then when you're making your cuts, being real precise with that so you don't take away too much wood and keep everything tight and lined up. So we made a couple of different ones here. This one is quarter sawn sycamore, and this one is ash, I believe.
Mm-hmm. But it's a super fun thing that you can practice with, a 2 or 3 foot long piece of scrap.
Yeah, anything that has interesting grain pattern or a little bit of figure to it will make a good box.
Yeah, and you did a really nice job explaining it, and there's a drawing that shows how you resaw the piece and then line up the corners. So it seems like it would be hard, but it's really, it takes some practice, like you said, to get precise cuts and all of that, but it's really a straightforward technique.
It is.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of money invested in the wood either, so if you mess one up, we made quite a few just as practice pieces. But
So like all of us, when you've stuck those, cool, interesting grain pieces aside that are this big and you don't know what to do with all your shorts, you can be like, oh, honey, I saved them for this.
Yep.
I'm going to make these for all the relatives.
Yeah, and you've done a really nice job with heartwood sapwood on this. So my question is, if you have a piece with grain running at an angle, does that paint you into a corner as far as getting it to match? Or like, do you want the grain almost parallel with the sides, or?
Well, like for this one, the grain, it was running fairly parallel, which makes it easier to get it to match up perfectly. If it's running diagonally and you cut it across, then when you take out that waist, and then all of a sudden they don't quite match up as well.
So you have to be more careful.
Yeah, so face grain, some angles are interesting, but the closer to quarter sawn the board is, the better. You did some experimenting with some that were really, they were even beyond rift. They were, the end grain was really angled, and you found that you could still do it if you kind of offset all the corners, which makes things a little more interesting. You can do it, but you have to.
So you'd almost have to go over length, over width.
Right, you have to start a little
and
bit
then
wider.
start.
Yeah, and then you just kind of slice it back.
I think this one you could see, some of the corners, like this corner matches up pretty well, but then when you get to the other corner, it'll be a little bit off, but it's, from 20 feet away, 10 feet away.
And to be honest, the recipient doesn't have a clue.
Right.
We know it, but there.
Yeah.
So.
No, but it's really cool, fun, straightforward technique.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good with scrap wood.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right.
That
Thanks,
was Vince. If you like him, we'll bring him back.
Yes, and if you like him, he can replace us. Actually,
And if you don't like me, then we still bring you back.
I'm the new improved Kevin.
This is new
Vince can
Kevin
be the
too.
New improved
2.0.
Dave.
Yeah.
We'll just keep moving up the line.
And I'm here every week because this is my personal purgatory. So
Yeah, it's. I almost slipped on the tears coming in, but then we got John back. With
I was
us.
lured here under false pretenses.
Yes.
Now, Innovate. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
I'll get out of your way.
Thanks. You can run off. So every year for a while now, we've done our innovation awards. Started off as the Innovate Awards, which was trying to find 8 items that were truly innovative. We're like, nah, there's some cool stuff out there. Some years are better than others. This year, I thought we had a really good year of finding innovative stuff. And we found things from $30 to, hundreds or multi-hundreds of dollars. So, innovation doesn't have to mean revolutionary. It has to mean doing something cool. And an example is, I'll just show you a few things here and then demo one thing that's interesting. This, a lot of us have switched over to these reusable masks. This is RZ, and they made a mask. They improved the filtration, they improved the cartridges, they did a number of things. But one of the things that's interesting is that they made it so you can, I have to be dexterous here, you can pop the straps off, and it comes with 3 different style straps. So if you want the traditional one high, one low on your head. If you want them over your ears, or if like me, you just have really pretty hair and you don't want to mess it up, you can do this one that goes around the bottom of your neck. So, you know, if it's 30 below wind chill and you're out blowing snow like we all did this weekend, then you can get it clear. I know how Velcro works. You can get it
Just get
clear
the right
around the
one.
bottom. I
Yeah,
did it
get the one,
backwards,
yeah.
but yes. But, you know, inexpensive, replaceable filters, washable mask. I
So
really
this goes
like
up
these.
over the head.
Yeah, so you've got one that this can go, you know, one over your head and one down low in the traditional, and then these that can go over your ears, if that's the way you like it. Some other things that we found, the folks at John. Look at, you've almost got your holiday shopping done already.
You can keep the ears.
No.
Okay.
Give you those two. The folks, we found a really nice miter saw stand that we didn't set up for you. We found a couple of different rip fences that were impressive. The folks at Saw Stop have a new miter gauge out that has, you know, miter gauge is miter gauge, right? Well, I don't know. It has some interesting ideas, and they call this the Revolution. And the reason is the way that the angles are set. And what's cool about this one, and I don't know how up we can get on it here, you turn this dial, hence Revolution, and with each click, it advances. But what's different about it is if you want to go in 1 degree increments, each click is a degree. But if you change this, you can go in 1/2 degree increments, all the way down to 1/4, and even 1/10 degree increments. And it holds really tight and nice at all those. Then, of course, you can also bring it all the way back and spin it free if you want. And the alignment is really slick. It's just where no matter what scale you're in, there's these white marks around the dial. And every time it clicks, that lines you up, whether it's a degree. This is always a degree. So if I'm on full degrees with every one of those, it ends up changing. But if I'm on tenths, then I have to go 10 times, and I still know I'm at a full degree because that line has aligned.
Sorry.
It also expands and has a built-in stop. And this one, obviously, we've put an auxiliary fence on. This is a prototype. It's been seeing a lot of work in the shop, and we're going to have to send it back one of these days. But they promised they'll send us a production one.
Yeah, and it's got nice to tighten it.
Yeah, they are for sale now. Yeah, we just got this one before they were for sale. Yeah, it came out right before the end of 23. So anyway,
Micro adjust on that.
cool
too.
micro adjust on the fence or on the stop. A lot of interesting stuff. So another one, if you've tried to build a lock miter, you know how fun a lock miter can be to set up. What's your philosophy?
So what we told people was, you get a planer, you set it at the thickness of your lumber, tighten and then break that off so you
Right.
never move it again. Put that at the bottom of your cart, and then the top of your cart is your router table. You set it up for the lock miter, and you never move it again.
Right.
So it's like a dedicated lock miter station.
So, you know,
because
for the 6 times a year you do lock miters, you've only got like $1,000.
it gets very frustrating very quickly.
So
to do this.
last year in our Innovate, the folks at Microjig did this fit finder, which is a gauge that you bring it up to your wood. I got to do it right here. And when you, sorry, can you see this? When you bring it down here and lock it down with this leg, then this foot shows half the board's thickness. And it's like, okay, that's cool. How many times do I need to figure out half thickness? Well, what they did is a lock miter bit, and they come back after it's done and they machine this little step in it.
Oh, right there.
Right there.
Okay.
And so what happens is now I know half my lumber thickness, and I set my router bit depth in the table so that this just touches that.
Yeah, because traditionally you are trying to line up the center of your board with that angled.
Right, you're trying to get exactly half that thickness, and it's not easy. So now this just boop, it's right there, and then you just align the fence with the straight edge so it hits it, and literally in one setup, it's not perfect, but that's a one setup lock miter.
That's respectable.
That I made with it, and they do a couple interesting things. They build a little extra in. They've got some gap in here so that there's some space for glue squeeze out. Not at the edges, but on the
Right in
fingers,
there?
essentially.
Sorry.
Yep, sorry.
I got to see
You
this.
choked me up.
Oh, they do, those clever little buggers.
Yep. So that's a couple of innovative things. And then one of the things that's fun about searching for stuff for innovation awards is, sometimes you got to go off the beaten path. And so at IWF, the International Woodworking Fair in Vegas in July, we went way off the beaten path. And I saw this guy, and I was like, "Ooh, I got to go see his product." And it's here. It's not something that is like got to have it in your arsenal, but it's just super cool. And if you do this stuff, hey, it's called the double dowel, and it's this guy who was doing mission trips to Africa, and they couldn't get a supply of dowels to make furniture, so they thought, well, we need to be able to just cut our own tenons instead of have dowels. So he came up with this double dowel. I love the homegrown look of it. It's all nicely made out of Baltic birch. He's kind of on version 1.0, which is really nice, and he's working on 2.0. But what it allows you to do is with one table saw setup, so it's this piece, a plate that goes on your router table, a 3/4 inch bit, and then this part of the jig, which goes on here, locks in. He has a really simple setup system for it. Sorry, I just got to pop it down in there. And I'll show you how it works. So there's stops. Lucas, you got this?
Yep.
There are stops. I'm going to lock the router table down. This one's we need to do a little adjustment here.
It's the floor.
It's the floor is way out of whack. So once you've got it positioned, it can do from like half up to 3/4 inch, if I'm remembering the sizes right, or 3/8 up to 3/4 inch tenons. And you go through the setup process that's all done with little setup jigs. And there's a stop that flips here, a similar one that goes on your bandsaw or your drill press fence, so you can drill the corresponding holes that are positioned right. But all you got to do is take your workpiece, lock it in, and here we go. We'll cut two.
You want me to lean on this?
Sure. We'll cut 2 tenons. So I've got that on. I slide it in against the stop. You get this right. And then just turn it. Now, bring it over against the other stop and turn it. I did a really quick setup on this, so I know I'm going to be far from exactly right. But when I pop that out of there, ta-da!
Ta-da!
Double tenons. See, and I didn't get it quite centered correctly because I did a really quick setup. But, it's a really cool idea, very interestingly executed. And again, it shows that people are innovating in ways that we don't always think of. And so, we're all making jigs. We're all doing different things in the shop. And when you think something's a good idea, maybe it is. I will tell you that the guy who did this, super nice guy, there was several large tool companies hanging around looking at this thing while we were at the show.
Oh.
So
might not be made out of Baltic birch for long.
might not be made out of Baltic birch forever.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And that's okay.
that's some of the Innovation Awards.
You don't typically walk up to a router table and start spinning things.
No,
It's
exactly.
just, yeah.
Yeah, and that again, it's kind of the idea of this. I mean, I didn't set it up perfect, but I set that up in 3 minutes and was able to get, that level of accuracy already.
We take our dedicated Lockmiter router table, and now we convert it to the double dowel.
There you go.
And then we got
Yep.
problem
Voila.
solved. Do you want to show off your dust collector first, or dust separator first?
We can.
And then I'll...
Good doggy. Out it comes. So, Mullet Tools did this year. This little cyclone. Oopsie, and I didn't put it together right, so it's coming apart. A little portable cyclone, and what's unique is it has this actually really sturdy boom arm system. So this is called the boom arm. How about that? And the boom arm is available in multiple ways. You can buy just the arm. You can buy the arm with some mounting stuff. You can buy the arm in combination with the cyclone. But it's a really cool idea because it's just like 1.5 inch scheduled 20 PVC. So if you need different lengths, you can make them. I think it comes with 4 pieces. And the elbows are really nice and tight, and they seal well. So if you need to throw dust collection into a hard-to-reach place, it's a pretty cool way to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's that one. And like with this one, it just connects straight into your vacuum. You can customize where this intake
Yeah,
is.
see some adjustment there. That's
Yep.
nice.
And it's cool because you can then wheel everything around as one. There's even a little strap you can put on that'll hook them together. So there we go. I'll get this out of the way.
And you like the separation?
Yeah, it does a really good job of separating. And
we got
again,
this kind of
this
thing.
is, the boom arm is available as one thing. And so,
So you
you
can
can
get-
get like a benchtop mount for it, or you can get a floor mount for it. This one, you can buy it as a package
With that.
with the little cyclone. Yeah, so fun stuff. All right, now
Now I got to talk again.
talking about innovation,
Innovation.
out of the mind of this guy and the folks at Oneida came a very interesting idea.
How's that? Put it right there. So this only took me 5 years to get in the magazine, 5 or 6. And for a variety of reasons, we had a couple false starts, but finally got a version printed. And it's going to be interesting to see how people receive it. We're
Yes.
already getting letters, nothing hateful yet, but we're getting people.
We hide those from you, John.
Oh, okay. We're getting people interested. So at the core of it, we're doing a dust collection cart that just runs off vacuums. So fiber barrel, and then this is kind of the meat of it. It's 3 dust deputies that all feed into the barrel, and then we have an inlet here that would kind of take everything into these cyclones, and then we have an air chamber here that is connecting the vacuums to those cyclones. So oftentimes we think of one cyclone, one vacuum. In this system, we're doing 2 vacuums, 3 cyclones, and it works. Our first thing was just get the thing, turn it on, see if it works. Do you want to plug that thing in?
Sure. We have got a big bucket of dust here.
So it's a little different way of thinking about dust collection, and part of that is got me thinking was that yellow Oneida system we have in the corner, where you're doing high velocity rather than high volume. So with this system, you'd be using 2.5 inch hose.
Look, I'm playing with my hands.
Oh no. You're worse than a vacuum salesman.
How do you know?
Do they turn on?
Salesman.
That's pretty good. Let's see if it'll. Yeah, and you can see the stuff swirling
Yep,
around in
it's a
there.
goer.
So, yeah, we don't have this permanently
Quick
hooked up.
release hose is nice, yeah.
Kind of what I was doing, you know, it's not the smallest cart in the world, but I was trying to get it within what we're dealing with to the footprint of a single stage dust collector, because if you think a lot, those single stages go up to here, and there's a lot of unused space on it, so that's why we went with storage on the top, storage on the side.
Storage on the end.
yep.
I mean, great place
Yeah.
for clamp rack or small shelves or whatever. And then you did a couple of nice things, like when you need
Oh,
to empty
yeah.
the barrel,
That's
Just-
true, yeah,
hook that up there, slide the barrel out.
and the barrel comes right out.
Yep.
So we sourced this fiber barrel. This is a 50-gallon, not a 55. So part of the reason I went with this was I was trying to keep the overall height down, and I think I gained 6 inches dropping it by doing that. You can put any size barrel you want on it. I like a big barrel rather than a short barrel. It just gives you more time before you have to empty it. But you could use like a 55-gallon steel drum on there. We went with, and I want to say right off the bat, this was not my brainchild. This was
Right.
something I found. And I just thought it was a very neat kit that Oneida had that I hadn't seen anyone do anything with.
Yeah. So the Oneida kit is the 3 dust deputies and a few of the fittings,
Yeah, you have to buy
the gasket material,
yeah.
some of that other stuff. And somebody just emailed and said, why 3 cyclones? You know, I'd think that you'd have the air volume, that 1 cyclone per 1 vacuum. So if 2 vacuums, why not 2 cyclones? My answer is the folks at Oneida are way smarter than I am about this stuff, and they figured out that 3 cyclones is optimal for the setup.
Yeah.
And we'd agree. We lost 3 cats and Lucas's very small dog in their first test.
Yeah, and to that point, I think it is, it's a high velocity system. So you're giving it just another opportunity for that heavy stuff to fall.
Right.
Rather than go straight up to the vacuum.
Yeah, because if you need that volume
Yeah.
of cyclone for the air to slow down and
Yeah.
act like cyclones.
Because you could on this, if height was unlimited, they have like, what is it, the XL or the, it's the taller cone.
Right.
That would probably be even more efficient. But again, we're trying to keep the overall footprint as small as possible. So yeah,
super
this is
fun.
what we ran in the magazine. And I would call these, this is probably your cheapest way of getting in if you have to buy new vacuums.
Yeah.
Is just these little bucket top, $29.95.
Buy this, and that's the 5-gallon bucket, which you steal from the home center on the way out the door.
Yes. And so that'll get you going. But if you have your own vacuum, you don't need to go buy these. You can use the vacuum that you have. And so I want to show you kind of well, this really isn't a 2.0. This is a, when we first got this, we built a system just to test it. So this is one I'm playing with. And you'll notice it has a different air chamber on top. So with the Oneida instructions, this is actually the original air chamber. If you don't want to do the, hold on, the clear panorama version, this is just an easy way to get going. And so what I'm basically doing here is I'm setting this up, I'm testing this, seeing how it's going to work, and then I'm going to modify the cart that goes around it. So this is actually a 3-vac setup with a single plug-in if you want to plug in the one in the back. So I have 2 things going on. I have a tool-triggered vac plugged into a tool-triggered vac, so when I turn this on, all of that goes on. And then over here I have a cordless, I call this the supercharger. So that runs off 2 batteries just like that. And I just want to show you a couple things that we're learning. That we're learning. So you turn on that, turn on the supercharger, and so there's that.
So does it actually have suction? Yes, it actually has suction.
So there is some suction there.
Yeah.
You can turn that down a little bit. The other thing we learned, could you grab the clear plastic
yes.
hose? And this is kind of, again, when we did this design, I didn't want to be like, this is the design you have to do. It's, I think the fun of it is getting the kit and playing with it and kind of customizing it to what you want to do. And so, same hose that's on that one, right? But we learned something. You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
No, none of us are really
No, no,
ready.
no. So we're not going to use that hose. We're going to get a little different hose
You wanna
to
hear
put
the
on
most annoying
that.
sound in the world?
And just with this, because so this is kind of an extreme. What I'm doing here is all three of these vacs are HEPA rated, so I live a year longer. And then the other thing I'm playing around with is, do I go 4-inch on this?
Yeah.
Because I have so much air going through this thing that I think I could almost do 4-inch on that. And I think I'm going to graduate up to a 55-gallon drum as well. So if you lack vacuums, someone in your neighborhood leaves their garage open.
We're actually thinking that it's snowing again now here in Iowa where we are. We've gotten 2 feet of snow in the last week, and it's snowing again. And thinking that if we just take this and leave it outside, it'll clear everything around the building.
Just suck everything. Yeah. So.
All right.
But yeah,
I'm wheeling.
that's the. If you're interested, I hope you get it and play around with it. It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yes. Yep. I'm full of ideas that sound good.
And with that, we're probably running out of stuff.
We are probably, and they're probably running out of patience. So, you can only listen to.
Well, I could see that on their face 10 minutes ago.
I mean,
so.
think though, if Kevin was here, how many people would have left by now? So, we got that going for us. Anyway, one of the things that comes out of this issue really with innovation and do 12-volt drills work, and can you make 4 corners match, and what if we tried to suck up a cat with a bucket vacuum, is play around in the shop and be innovative in your way. There's what's the worst that can happen if your health insurance is paid up? So no, it's it's fun. Just experiment. That's part of there are people that go out in the shop and never care if they actually build anything because they're just tinkering, and that's where a lot of the cool ideas come from. So anyway, that's a look. There is more than that in March 2024, issue 294.
We're supposed to tell people to like and subscribe.
We are supposed to tell people to like and subscribe.
I don't know to what, but...
Well, they're supposed to like you and subscribe to the magazine. And, the subscribing part is easy. So, and also, do follow us here on YouTube, and we're out on all the socials. And one thing down in the description, I think we put the link to the Innovation Awards. We have a link to the Super Sucker Cyclone, and all the plans for this issue are pretty much, I think, up online by now. So anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff in the issue. At least we think so. We hope you do too.
Well, yeah,
what else you got?
Well, this was great. I got some things I got to try out at home now.
You got a bunch of new drills. You don't get the chargers, and we're charging for the chargers.
What?
What else? We should probably stop.
We should put a pin in it and sign off. So.
All right. Well, It won't be too long before we subject you to this again. So we apologize in advance because
54 days.
The May issue. That's our production schedule. Managing editor. I crack that whip and then we laugh. But we'll be back for May, and if you can come up with something better to do, we applaud you for it. If not, we'd love to have you back, and we'll talk to y'all again.